David Byrne of the Talking Heads is an undeniable legend. Talking Heads were very influential for new wave music, for post-punk bands too. They had a style that was like no other, and man, I like them a lot. Their unique approach to music, throwing in world beats as well, like so many different inspirations kind of coming together with David Byrne's wailing vocals, have influenced everything from Aut to LCD sound system. They have just changed music massively. So many bands have done covers of their songs. Just the influence is insane, man. And David Byrne's solo album here, American Utopia, that doesn't represent that, so I would skip it. This album at first was alright, but as I listened to it more, I just kind of realised how weird and eccentric it was for the sake of being eccentric, you know? It wasn't like creative in a really cool way, it was just strange to the point where David Byrne comes across as like a mental patient at points. Like he is saying some shit, man, that is just so fucking weird. Doggy dancers doing duty. Doggy dancers doing duty. He's just talking out of his arse. And many of the tracks do this thing where like they start off sounding one way, like the first track on the album, where it starts off as a bit of like a piano lead. It sounds nice, sounds a bit Disney-ish to be honest, but then the chorus comes in, it's just like, oh fucking nowhere, the instrumental changes up. It's just like, what are you doing? Gasoline and Dirty Sheets is pretty decent. It sounds a bit like an 80s inspired track, a bit like Tears for Fears, I guess. David Byrne clearly is still stuck in that time of music though. So many of these tracks do feel like they're coming from the past, even though they don't sound dated. It's just like that. I guess it's that the ideas sound like they've been done so many times before, and David Byrne's been obviously so influential in music that he even now, many years later, after his cultural relevance, I guess he's still doing similar things to what he was doing back then, which is fine. But it just doesn't go over well. It doesn't go over too well most of the time. It does sound quite messy. He just some of the ideas that come on this album, like they just crop up, and you're just like, what is going on? Like there are so many weird little things that don't really match up to anything. Honestly, it's not Dark Up Here. Just sounds like a plain version of something Talking Heads would have done. The next track, Bullet, just sounds a bit like a Killer song, honestly, with his vocals and the sort of like, I guess I want to say inspirational sound to it. There is that element across this album too. Like I said, like the first track has this like Disney-ish sound, and some of the tracks have that like whimsical sound to them, but it's not really charming. I don't want to say. I like. Sometimes it can be done in a way that's like, whoa, you know, but like on this album it's just kind of done in like a phoned in way that I'm not really getting the point of. Like he's jumping across so many different sounds and styles that I'm just not really sure what's meant to stick. But then again, I feel like at this point he is kind of a legend, so maybe I'm just going to let him off just for the weirdness of it all. Doing the Right Thing is a highlight for me though. I do like the way it's like, I'm always doing the right thing. I mean, on Dog's Mind, you weren't doing the right thing, because that song is utter shit, but again, I'll let you off. And Everybody's Coming to My House is a fucking great song. Like, honestly, that song, it's a shame you have to wait 9 tracks before you get to that, because it's by far, like, the best song here. And honestly, I would go as far as saying this might be one of the highlights in songs this year. I think this is a fucking great song. Like, this is the wild the wild approach that I think he could have done throughout the whole album, but yeah, it still has like a good sound to it. Like I wish every track went in this direction. And I also feel like I'm interpreting in a way that he's like so aware of his influence that he's sort of talking about like everybody's coming to my house, you know, people are coming on my land, my sound, my style. You know, I feel like he's just kind of like inviting people in and noticing that actually I've like changed music in a massive way. That's how I want to interpret it. I don't know if that's how it's written, That's how I want to see it, and I feel like that's a cooler way to look at it. That's right, you know, my opinion on it is a cooler way to look at it than your opinion. Other than that, I don't know what to make of this album. It's kind of strange at points, it's kind of inspirational, but it doesn't ever reach the heights, because I guess the lyrics aren't exactly anything to be, you know, talking about really here. So if the lyrics were better, then maybe I'd have more to say, but when they're fucking weird and just like out there at points that just don't match the song, I just don't really feel like there's anything I want to say. David Byrne's done a lot for music, and there's one great song on this album that I feel like could stick with me throughout the year. But other than that, there's nothing to report. I'd say this is a D. It's a bit weird at times, a bit odd, but also not odd enough, and not done odd in the right way. This album is many things, man. I don't know how to describe it, but I would say just go back to Talking Heads if you've never listened to Talking Heads, and skip this album. That is it. If you like this album, though, and you have something to say about the album, then do let me know. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews and podcasts, interviews, lists, and anything music related, really. Have a good day.